Childhood education is probably the most important thing that we're facing today.
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Squeak is a way of doing something.
I'm a squeaker.
That thing that you're trying to do with it is fundamentally important.
僕もスクイーカーです。
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Squeak is our latest attempt to invent personal computing.
Squeak, squeak.
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Squeak makes simple ideas simple and allows for complex ideas to be possible.
Ich bin ein Squeaker.
It's meant to disturb people.
Squeak, squeak.
You have to disturb them. You have to get them out of their habitual modes of thought.
Squeak.
I think that's wonderful.
Squeak, squeak.
Squeak.
You better check me out, because I'm a squeaker.
Squeak is a language, a tool, and environment primarily designed to help children and change the way learning's done. Designed by the father of the personal computer, Alan Kay, and his colleagues, Squeak allows teachers, parents, and students, together or alone, to explore powerful ideas in math and science.
This change in speed is sometimes called the acceleration.
Yeah.
And it's designed to be fun. Kids and the way they learn are at the heart and soul of Squeak. Kay has spent more than 30 years studying computers and education, a subject still in its infancy, he believes.
Squeak is the latest in a long line of designs for making an environment for children that they can learn powerful ideas by making things that they think are fun.
Based on a constructivist theory of learning in which children learn by creating, Dr. Kay's work builds on the shoulders of leading educators.
Maria Montessori was one of the greatest geniuses in education. One of her great insights was that children are already set up by nature to learn through play. Joan Brunner was one of the biggest influences on me and continues to be. He wrote the best book on educating children that's ever been written, Towards a Theory of Instruction. Seymour Papert was one of the inventors of Logo. Seymour had one of the big insights about how to use computers with children, which is that certain powerful kinds of mathematics, when you bring them to the computer in the right way, turn into toys that children can play with and learn advanced mathematics without the normal pain that children seem to go through. So this is one of the most profound insights, and it's colored pretty much everything we've done over the last 30 years.
Many classroom computers today are still used only for presentation, animated worksheets, or for the internet. But Kay, Papert, and others say much more is possible.
So, BJ, your kids know how to do second-order differential equations.
Okay, wow.
But will Squeak work with real teachers in real classrooms?
Our biggest attempt with Squeak is to involve the kids in these interesting processes to teach them math and science, but to change their common sense way of looking at situations in the world.
I teach math, I teach science concepts, and then I have the kids simulate what is reality by using math to make it happen. And I could never have done that before without this program.
To get a feel for what Squeak is, here's a look at a beginning Squeak Drive a Car project with 6th grade teacher Kathleen Gallus.
Today we were just looking at sort of a beginning project, a car project with Squeak. Learning to drive the car has a lot of math is just embedded in that experience.
Squeak has many media tools available. Children quickly create a car using the paint tool. And since everything in Squeak is an object, they can immediately move or resize their car.
So today we just began looking at a car and we started making it move forward, and then as it moved forward we said, well what does forward mean?
To make their objects do things, children can select from a list of simple actions such as forward and turn.
So now we know that forward also tells us what then?
The car, like
speed. So forward is really the speed of the car.
And just by adding a number to the script, they can change the speed or the direction.
Okay, Okay, now what's the relationship if it's forward by 5 and turn by 5? What's going to happen if we play that script before you even start the script? What'll happen to it?
It's going to go in a circle.
In a circle, why? What does that mean? Forward by 5, turn by 5. How do you know it's going to go in a circle?
Because it's going forward by, but at the same time it's turning.
Ah, okay. Now what if we... And then we began looking at, okay, well, if we want to make the car do something else, we want to drive it, we want to make a steering wheel, how will the steering wheel control the car?
A steering wheel is created in paint, and a dot at the top helps indicate the heading.
So we started looking at something called heading, and in heading, there were numbers.
Heading introduces the concept of positive and negative numbers. Turn the car right, positive numbers. Turn left, negative numbers. By connecting the wheel's heading to the car's turning, the kids can actually drive the car.
So we talked a little bit about degrees and angles and circles and actually began making a correlation between numbers that they had maybe looked at on a worksheet in the classroom and been able to now sort of manipulate and see that it actually has a real-life application.
Later, dot trails are introduced, which allow the children to see and measure the car's speed, leading to the concept of acceleration. Speed, acceleration, heading, degrees, some of these concepts are advanced for this age child, but what's fundamentally different is the actual way of working in Squeak.
There's an incredible amount of thinking, problem solving, figuring out, planning. These are all very high-level skills that may not take place in other environments where kids are not allowed to build. When kids are just completing a page of problems, they may not really be thinking about how it works. But when they make these connections in Squeak, then those other things are just automatic.
Squeak is being developed worldwide, but Viewpoints Research in Los Angeles is where it begins. Here's a look at the Los Angeles Squeakers and a little of the story behind Squeak.
Most people think of Alan Kay as the father of the personal computer. But Alan Kay is much more than that.
Yay!
Yeah, okay. So stop.
Alan Kay is a scientist. Alan Kay is a humanist. And Alan Kay is a romantic. I'm Kim Rose, and I'm the executive director of the Viewpoints Research Institute. The Viewpoints Research Institute is a nonprofit organization that was founded by Alan Kay and myself. We endeavor to improve children's education through the use of digital media.
Okay, Kim, take a look at this.
We are developing curricula for children to use online around the world.
It's just tough doing this in a class. Pretty much everybody has to be patient while this is going on.
Exactly, because some kids might really be there and be getting it while other kids aren't, and often she'll take the time to work with the one child in this whole group of children. Alan Kay is the chief vision behind the Viewpoints Research Institute and Squeak.
When I saw Seymour Papert's work with children and Logo, I realized that Seymour had found a new avenue for making educational environments for children in which they could learn very deep ideas. And the romance just hit me in the face, that this was, it's a quest. If you could understand how to make the right kinds of environments for children, then you could give them an alternative world in which science and math actually made sense years earlier than it can in the regular world.
Screeny's going to reset it to where I want to start
great.
it.
Okay, great.
I refer to Alan as a romantic because the life's work that he has chosen is driven by a passion. He's trying to find how we can use new media, computers, this new technology to help children get deeper understanding into powerful ideas and to ultimately become better human beings and to make the world a better place.
Okay.
In the late 60s, Alan ran a group at Xerox PARC, Palo Alto Research Center, called the Learning Research Group. What an amazing time and place that would have been. I'm sorry I wasn't there at that time. Xerox PARC is credited for developing so many of the things in computing that we take for granted today. Postscript printing, Ethernet, laser printing. Alan is given credit for developing ideas of a graphical user interface, pull-down menus, overlapping windows, the use of icons, the idea of a desktop metaphor. This work was designed for children. So Alan has always been very interested in designing computer systems for children and to have children be the users of these environments. Alan had an idea of creating a dynamic, portable computer for children. He called this the Dynabook. He envisioned something like the PowerBooks, the small laptop portable computers that we use today. You have to remember, this was at a time when some people were saying the world only needed 5 computers, and the only kind of computers that people were familiar with took up huge rooms, and he envisioned this to be wireless and collaborative and very portable, very lightweight, where children could work together to try to understand powerful ideas.
The idea I got back then was, wow, in a few years we can make notebook-sized computers for kids. And these computers will be connected to this thing that we're building, this worldwide network, and it will have better and better structurings of knowledge on it, and the kids will be able to collaborate through it, and it'll be kind of like a one-room schoolhouse that bypasses most of the broken processes that are going on right now.
Flash forward to Apple Computer in the 1980s, at this time a hotbed of development for computers and education. As a vice president and Apple fellow under Steve Jobs and John Sculley, Alan Kay began a long-term and well-funded look at designing computer-based curricula.
That's where I joined Alan's team in 1986. Our project was called the Vivarium Project, and that is where we started working with the Open Charter School in Los Angeles. Thanks to the sponsorship of Apple Computer, we were able to bring many computers into this school and to see how does the teaching change and what are the tools that can be used.
We have 2 children who got the same measurement.
B.J. Kahn is a terrific teacher in so many ways. This woman has been teaching for over 30 years, and she has the energy of a teenager.
Start. Stop. You'll have to do it real quick, okay?
We met BJ in 1986. She was one of the original teachers at the Open Charter School that participated in Apple Computer's Vivarium program. And she was an early adopter of using computers in her classroom.
You're going to actually try to see if you can measure these pictures and see if, in fact, you can come up with what is really happening in the picture. So what you're
I'm B.J. Allen Kahn, and I'm a teacher at the Open Charter School in Los Angeles. I have been doing it for 35 years, and I have never gone to work a day in my life. I just go to school. I love being with the kids.
Yes. What does this kind of remind you of when I turn this paper?
Our school, the Open School, was started over 25 years ago by a group of parents who wanted a specific educational philosophy. The philosophy was based on the teachings of Jerome Bruner, the way in which children learn and how they learn. It's very constructivist, very hands-on. What I love about it is that our school is represented by so many different cultures, and the kids get to share their cultures with each other. Technology is a passion because it integrated into a school curriculum is so powerful. There's not another tool like it. The kids begin to look at their work in a totally different way.
I like working in Squeak a lot. It's very fun. It makes math funner. This is a project where we got 2 cars and we would race them to the finish line, and we'd have a small timer, and we had to do a color test to make them go. if green car sees black, then he has to go forward by 0, which would be stopping. Once one of the cars got to the finish line, then the other car had to stop. I wouldn't say I really love math, but Squeak makes me really like math a lot, because you put math in a different way and it can be fun. I did something different from cars racing. Instead, I made pigs racing.
And they're off.
Here we go for the annual pig race. It looks like it's a rough time today. The pink pig's crashing into the wall.
I have a watcher here that tells me what speed they're going.
Oh, and the blue pig's coming in the lead.
I have my own pig. I named it Jackson. And usually it loses. But oh look, the black pig is catching up, leaving the white pig in the dirt. Squeak makes math fun because, wow, you don't really think that you're doing math, kind of. You feel like you're just playing around and having fun, but you are doing math and you learn it better because you play while learning it.
So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to pass everything that we're going to go out today and drop off of the roof. And you're going to feel them in your hands.
These kids are 10 years old, and I'm trying to teach them something like gravity. Well, gravity isn't easy to learn about, but I'm teaching them about gravity and not just read about it, but understand it and duplicate it. Can you duplicate what gravity is? That's a powerful idea.
And let's very quickly just pass it around to a few of you. Get a feel for how heavy.
So I brought objects to school. I had a shot put ball, I had a drilled out shot put ball, a sponge ball, an apple, a croquet ball, and I passed them around and let the kids feel them. Well, the shot put ball is very heavy and very dense, and they could barely hold it in one hand.
Joanne, whoa. And on this piece of paper, I want you to tell me which one you think, from the choices, from 1 being the fastest, 5 being the slowest, if in fact you think that one of these is going to fall faster or slower than any of the other.
They guessed about what objects would fall faster simply because of the weight.
This is definitely going to fall.
Well, the kids, of course, all picked the shot put ball because of its weight.
Let's try.
And we wanted the kids to look at it and see what they saw and discovered about it. So we went outside, we had it arranged with our custodian, and he climbed up on the roof, and we dropped the balls so the kids could see which would fall to the earth faster or not, whatever the case may be.
So if you're my timers, you have to, the moment he drops the ball, you have to hit start. When it hits the ground, you have to hit stop. Then you're going to take that time and tell your recorder what the time was, and your recorder's going to write it down for you. All right, now timers, you've got to be really quick on the finger. The moment he lets it go, you're going to start your time. All right? Drop.
The kids were, recording what they were seeing, and we dropped everything. And some of the, the apples burst, and the kids got a real big kick out of there. They were laughing and cracking up.
Drop.
The shot put and the sponge ball is the same time. Same time. Yes.
Kids were, recording what they were seeing, and we videoed it so we could play with the actual footage of the film.
Thank you, Michael.
When we all got up, we came into the classroom because we were going to put our information in Squeak and look at what we had done. And I looked out, and one of my little children was still out there, and he was sitting there, this little pad of paper, and he was just writing notes. He didn't want to forget anything that he had seen, so he could gather all this information. When he comes back into the classroom, it was important to him to have it all so he could put it into the computer.
Once inside, BJ replays the video.
And I'm going to run it, and we're going to see if what we thought we saw with our eyes really happened. I can run it.
This leads to a powerful observation about gravity.
Gravity pulls everything not harder, but like the same strength.
Next, BJ puts the film clips into Squeak and breaks down the motion into small segments.
We've broken it up into 6 little frames. Each one of these represents a portion of a second. You're going to see if you can measure for me the distance between the balls and what's actually happening.
She demonstrates what she'll ask them to do.
Okay, those are all the clues you get. Go to work.
Then sends the children off to their computers to look at this individually. Keep in mind here, the children have already learned about movement, speed, increased by, acceleration, and measurement in their Drive a Car project. First, she asks them to recreate the stacked film clips to really understand what they're seeing. After they've cut and pasted the frames to make the ball dropping graphic, then BJ asks them to measure the dropping distance by creating rectangles.
We had to get rectangles out of the supplies bin, and we measured the distance between one ball and another.
And to make sure that I was doing it just right, I got a magnifier, which would help me figure out if the size was just right. After I'd done that, I would go and click on the little basic category button, and then a little menu would pop up, and one of the categories would be geometry, so I click on that. And here it has many things that have to do with the size and shape of the rectangle. So I would see what the height is.
Now, my challenge to you is, I want to know what the difference is in the rectangles. Any ideas?
And I kept going along the process until I had them all lined up with their height. I subtracted the smaller one's height from the bigger one to see if there was a kind of pattern anywhere that could help me out.
The kids notice that the rectangles are getting longer, and they discuss this.
What do you notice about the balls? Talia?
That they're accelerating.
How can you tell that?
Because each ball, at first, it's kind of close together, and then it starts getting farther and farther and farther apart.
To cement this learning, BJ now asks them to make their own ball and make it drop like the real ball in the video. Now the challenge is to connect what they've learned about speed and acceleration from driving the car on its x-axis to the falling ball on its y-axis. BJ gives them a hint.
Because when we did this with the car, our car was going a special direction that our ball is not going. What axis were we talking to, Joey? We were talking to the X, but what are we going to talk to in order to do the ball drop? Max?
We're going to talk to the Y's.
We're going to talk to the Y's.
And since everything in Squeak is an object, they write a simple script to make their ball fall moving in the y-axis. Then they add in the idea of acceleration.
We got out the ball's Y and the ball's speed increasing by. And once we got those, we had to figure out how much the ball has to increase by. Because if you just choose any numbers, it might not go as fast as the ball would.
And my best guess worked. So in order to show that it was working, I decided to leave a dot copy so that it would show that the ball was going at the exact right speed and acceleration.
And once the balls fall the same, they've successfully simulated gravity.
I will tell you, if it wasn't for Squeak, I could never have done half of the math and science projects that I've been doing with my kids, because it's not the same thing as giving somebody a formula. Okay, this is gravity, this is this. It allows them to create something in which they have to use the concept to get the idea.
So I think first, we had a kind of an exciting week this week in a lot of different ways. So it'd be great to hear.
Every 4 or 6 weeks, BJ, Kathleen, Alan, and I will assemble after school. It gives BJ and Kathleen a chance to share what's happened in each of their classrooms. It also gives us a chance to kind of debug our curriculum.
What do you think about having the kids who seem to get it try and mentor the kids who aren't
Well, I think that's a good idea because Gina was doing that already.
Yeah.
Once she got it, she was so excited she was running around the room, and I had to stop her from actually writing it for all the kids. I said, you may not touch the mouse, you may only talk.
That's why.
In 1996, the Squeak team moved from Apple to Disney.
Because we had chosen to make Squeak free and available to the public over the internet as a piece of open source software, with the blessing of Apple Computer, we were able to take Squeak with us. So development of Squeak continued throughout the 5 years that we were at the Walt Disney Company.
In the fall of 2001, Alan Kay and Kim Rose founded their nonprofit company, Viewpoints Research. Their focus is on education and Squeak, like the examples you've just seen. And in addition to the educational applications, and on 20 computer platforms, including PCs and mainframes, scientists, gamers, and programmers have also been attracted to the new language. As an example, croquet, written in Squeak and shown here, breaks new ground in the long-standing challenge to create real-time 3D, massively shared environments. Alan Kay hopes more programmers will take advantage of the power of Squeak. Here's a look at one Squeak researcher in Germany.
Squeaker is somebody who uses Squeak, which is a very, very powerful computer program that they can download on the internet for free and play with it on their computer to get a better understanding of the world.
Andreas Raab is a member of our group who is based in Magdeburg, Germany. When we first put Squeak out on the internet, it was done for Macintosh system. Within a couple of days, Andreas ported this and made it run on a Windows platform. We didn't know Andreas, and Alan thought this must be, a senior, very mature, older computer programmer. Well, when Alan and the group found out that he was studying for his PhD in Germany at the university, they were floored. And he worked with our group here in Los Angeles for 2.5 years, and now he's returned to Germany and is continuing to work on the system and develop it and to bring it into Germany, into the schools there and the university there, and to help spread Squeak throughout the world.
My name is Andreas Raab, and I'm working with the University of Magdeburg in Germany. And what we're doing here is basically trying to define the future of Squeak. What we're really looking at is how to make a better usable interface based on experiences that we get working with the kids at the Open School Los Angeles with the teacher BJ Kahn. That's actually a good idea because when we were working at the Open School, one of the people I'm working with here is Professor Christine Strototte. She is professor at the Faculty of Design, and they're doing a lot of user interface design work. And we were talking about maybe getting some of our students involved in doing user interface design studies for Squeak, because we really wanted to think about how can we make the user interface of Squeak better.
The interesting point here is that our students are not computer scientists. They don't have this computer scientist background. They are users as you and me. And that's why they have the right position to test Squeak and to get a feeling what does a non-computer scientist users really need.
Am Cursor entsteht ein kleines Icon.
We made a project with a number of students here. Some of them started out building physical models, and some others have actually their designs already on the computers. And that actually worked out beautifully because those students just loved Squeak. And we can just get an impression about what the next generation of Squeak could look like in more interesting, more compelling, and simply better ways to the kids.
A key idea built into Squeak is the powerful notion of collaboration and mentoring. Collaboration can offer social children a door into the thoughtful world of science and math.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
And when children mentor each other, they strengthen their own knowledge.
If Squeak were in every classroom, my kids would be online with those kids interchanging worlds, building cars between them, and trying to make different things happen.
At Viewpoints, we are looking to expand our worldwide collaboration between Squeakers. We did an experiment connecting BJ's class in Los Angeles to a group of first-time Squeakers near Kyoto, Japan, online in real time. Camp is a non-traditional learning environment for children outside of Kyoto, where they can come and participate after school and on the weekends in a variety of workshops. Mr. Mori directs these workshops at camp.
私たちは MIT をはじめ、ナショナルジオグラフィックソサエティや
We hold workshops with MIT, National Geographic Society, LEGO, people from children's museums and science museums around the world, Dr. Alan Kay, and the Squeak Project.
らとコラボレーションをしながら、ここでのワークショップを行っています。今日初めてここ
Today is the first time we've done a Squeak workshop here at camp.
やりました。で
I think the children made an amazing variety of discoveries.
いろいろな発見をしていったんだというふうに思っています。スクイークを使っているうちにだんだん
While using Squeak, one gradually begins to think, I can do this, and I can do that. And rapidly, lots of new ideas come to mind, it seems. Especially memorable was a girl who made an animation of an animal which chases after two other animals. I always think during a workshop that it's better not to have someone teach the children, but to have the children discover things and ideas among themselves. That's the really powerful thing. The children who came today are certainly learning science in school, or are supposed to be learning it, but now they've actually experienced it in Squeak as well, but without realizing it. Children learn a lot from each other, seeing what others are doing, for example, teaching each other and copying each other.
アメリカのロサンゼルスのオープンチャータースクールっていうところの小学生が作った作品。
In spite of the time difference, we were able to connect children at the Open School in Los Angeles via the internet. The children in Kyoto, who are just starting to learn Squeak, have the opportunity to collaborate with BJ Kahn's children in Los Angeles and to help them learn more about the kinds of projects they can do in Squeak. Alan and I are excited about the future of mentoring with Squeak. Kids can find another child online, even far away, to help and to inspire them.
Different styles of learning and different stages of learning are two key concepts behind the flexibility of Squeak's design. Here Alan Kay confers with his mentor, Jerome Bruner, official advisor to Viewpoints Research.
Jerome Bruner was one of the biggest influences on me and continues to be. His ideas were seminal in changing American psychology, changing American education.
I respect a teacher who can ask interesting questions and who has the patience to watch somebody attempt to discover an answer to them. And that's what Squeak is about. We'll never know how the world really is. We always have to construct what we think the world is. We do it in describing the human situation by telling stories. We do it in science. We do it in interesting kinds of ways of thinking of new images and so forth. So my passion has basically got to do with how human minds make this sort of reality.
be maintaining contact.
Alan started being interested in how you teach kids at least 25 years ago. He didn't talk about it as publicly then because he was supposed to be in the computer business, but he's always been interested in this. He's always wanted to talk about it. This is nothing new. I know Alan. You get into a conversation and 5 minutes later you find yourself talking about how you can present something to kids.
We realized that if we were really going to tie children's deep learning, where we wanted the children to really spend hours of passionate self-investigation on stuff, then we were going to have to give these different types of children, which we did not have good, really great categorizations of even today.
Well, nobody has a good typology of children.
No, you don't.
You know. And kind of course, some, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they're one kind of kid. Never mind.
Yeah. So our idea was we have to make something that is that basically starts from art.
Understanding is like discovering. And it's that I just love about the way in which Alan and his Squeak project operates.
In addition to Seymour Papert and Jerry Bruner, Viewpoints Research has attracted an influential advisory board interested in the problems of worldwide education. Quincy Jones, for example.
Quincy Jones is a great big bundle of love, who also is a terrific musician, a friend, and it's a great honor that he was willing to be on our advisory board.
It always takes me 2 years to catch up with Alan because he just visits us from this other planet. He just comes down regularly, But I've known Alan almost 30 years now.
It has almost 1 billion people that are...
Here, Alan shows Quincy an animation in Squeak which demonstrates the infection rates of a slow-moving epidemic like AIDS and a fast-moving one like typhoid. Simulations like this, done in Squeak, help to make complex problems easier to understand.
Infections. So if we pretend this is a village, we're going to turn all of these guys blue except for one infected guy who's red. There he goes. Mm-hmm. And every time he touches somebody else,
he infects them.
He's infecting them.
Oh my God.
So hard to see what happened there. We can make a little graph.
That's called one bad apple, right?
And this is the characteristic curve of AIDS, because nothing happens for a while. Okay, so let's start this guy going again. And now I'm going to concentrate him like this. Okay, now I'm going to start them again. Watch this.
That's fast.
Much faster.
Woo!
So this one is like typhoid. Okay, and so what we've got here is this problem that if this is human imagination, this little keyhole, we can see typhoid through it because it happens in a few days and it's really exciting. But when we put a human imagination on AIDS, we can't see it because it takes years to get going. So the only imagination booster we've got is science, which gives us this bigger keyhole.
Alan, it's like that rock, man. I'm just glad that the lead is in his hands and people like him. He's a highly evolved human being. He really is. I want to be there.
Love you, man.
I love you too.
The philosophy behind Squeak is that learning math and science is essential to understanding the world of today. The goal is not to turn all kids into scientists, but to raise a generation of people able to use more than common sense to understand the world around them.
What they teach in school, I like to call math, as opposed to mathematics. Mathematics is one of the great jewels of achievement of the human mind. Math is a lot of boring stuff that you make kids do with pencils and squared papers and filling in numbers. There's no relation. While it's true that most people in math class don't learn much math, most kids in French class don't learn much French. But we don't say that they're not Frenchly minded. We don't say they don't have a head for French, because we know that if they grew up in France, they'd learn French perfectly well. And I think that my image of learning mathematics is if we all learned mathematics in Mathland, we would all learn mathematics perfectly well. And how can we create a Mathland? That's really what it's about. I think that what we can do with the computer is allow individuals to find their own way of coming to terms with what mathematics is and seeing it in a way that matches their passion and their intellectual styles.
Alan Kay and Seymour Papert have been working for years on this very problem, a way to create a playland or natural environment for learning the important ideas of science and math. But why is this so important?
So everybody is concerned about science and math these days, according to the papers, but most kids aren't learning it. So the first question is, why should people learn science and math? I think most people think it's because it might have something to do with your job you're going to get later on, but actually science especially was an enormous change in the way human beings look at themselves and the world. And so to me, one of the major reasons for trying to teach children science is to change their philosophical stance on the world themselves and on knowledge. Science is like art. It's like the thing that wakes you up to show you a different perspective on important things. So it's beautiful because it does that, but it does require a taste for it. You have to develop a taste for liking things to be different than your common sense might have thought the way the world was. And you get that taste by changing that common sense early in life.
How can we help children to develop this more questioning, discerning way of looking at the world? One way, says Alan Kay, is to put powerful tools for teaching math and science in the hands of enlightened teachers.
I want my kids to understand what it's like to be in different people's shoes. And when I think about teaching math and science, I think, this is it. This is our future. This is our hope. Look what's happening in Africa. Maybe one of the kids in this class is going to have some hand in finding a cure for AIDS. It's my hope. It's our future. It's my world. I want it to be right. I want it to be right for everyone, and I'm not going to be around to see it. So I want it to be right for them, and they have to make it happen.